I'll be guiding you through all of the action. And to start things off, Mousesports on c0ntact's choice of map starting on the CT side. Nothing too out of the ordinary about that. It is the best map for c0ntact gaming statistics-wise. They have the highest win percentage and highest pick rate on this map. And we saw them beat teams yesterday on this very map. And so far, it's been going pretty damn well for them. Otto ripping out of Palace with a 3K. Affording the chance at a bomb plant. And Mousesports have Chris J all alone against 3 hungry c0ntact players that would like to claim another upset. Mousesports have already been put down by Endpoint, so if they were to win today, they would be in a grudge match, get a try, maybe a bit of revenge on Endpoint for knocking them out earlier on in the tournament. But there's plenty of Counter-Strik to go between then and now. Second round, we'll see a 4-spy scout picked up for Chris J. One of the best scout players in the world. At one point, he was absolutely insane with this gun. Especially on maps like Dust 2. The sound of a MAC-10. Spewing bullets down middle in the distant background. But now Spinks finds his man. Emas was saved by the bullets. That HE was definitely going to kill him. Doesn't really matter because the end result will be the same. That is a post plant. Worth a save from Mousesports with a Tech 9. Tech 9? What have I been smoking? A CZ. That's the one. Eagle and a Scout. They'll be able to rinse and repeat into the next round, but it does mean that c0ntact are off to a pretty damn good start, and not losing a single player in this allows them to keep both of their MAC-10s, the expendable weapons, build up that economy nicely, and look to rinse and repeat in the next round. So, often when I'm doing these solo casts on my channel, it's just kind of chill. Not super serious, but I will take the game seriously if, you know, there's big moments and cool moments in play. So I bounce off a lot of questions and back and forth with you guys in chat. So how are we doing today, guys? And who do you think is going to win? I think there's a lot of Mousesports fans in the chat, but I also think there's a fair amount of c0ntact believers. What's up, AK Beardy? Howdy from Texas. That's awesome. Watched your stream yesterday, enjoyed it. Glad to be back. Glad to have you back. Thanks for coming back to the stream. The game sound is low? 1 second. See if I can fix that one for you guys. Should be fixed now. My bad. I was doing a duel yesterday on stream after the game's finished, and I turned down the sound a little bit because it was a little bit loud. My bad. You're going to have to deal with that for 150 seconds, unfortunately, guys. So I know I'm going to read about 15 comments in chat. By 15, I mean like 50. Another post plant. And another pretty straightforward round. Mousesports will be looking to hold on to what they have. Again, they have a couple of Kevlars, and that does include head armor, so it's definitely worth a save. Plus a couple of HEs. So the 3-0. I just need to type in chat here because there's going to be like a million people. No game sound! I knew I was going to get a torrent of comments there because of the 150-second delay, not realizing it's fixed. Guys, the game sounds low. Do you think he knows the game? Yeah, I'm aware. Relax, guys. It's all good. Either way, Mousesports with their first proper buy into the game. Because c0ntact have just taken pretty much no casualties, they're good to stay with the 2 Mac 10s. So I can almost treat this like a mini bonus round, as it were. Rush straight out, get up into the face of Mousesports. A lot of freedom comes with it, but c0ntact has the drop with his M4. He goes down next, and now it's down to Chris J with his A1S to try and hold the line, using each and every one of those bullets, but finally meets his demise. And in doing so, leaving Rops with the M4 to try and create some carnage on the site. Won't be happening. And the youngster on Mousesports is all that remains. Actually, I say that. There's more than one. It is BMAS with the M4 doing some damage, but has been taken down by the hands of Esperanto with a 4-0 lead now for c0ntact Gaming and resetting Mousesports to a degree. They do have max round loss bonus, so they'll be okay to buy on a couple of these players, but it's more Carrigan, BMAS, and Chris J that are an issue. Floating around that $3,500 mark. Rops had the most money, so he can justify going in for an M4 and dropping down to $1,400, knowing that that will be by and large replenished come the next round. c0ntact Gaming taking control over middle. Pretty straightforward for them. 4 players stacked over on the A side, including Rops, who has the aforementioned M4. He's perched in the windows. And quickly wrap around if the call comes into play. Esperanto taking the spearhead approach, going straight in, plunging deep into Mousesports in the form of Chris J, who was fully flashed. Couldn't see a single thing. That one M4 now sent reeling out by Snappy. And there is a rotation coming around the back from c0ntact, but it doesn't really matter, all things considered. The rest of the CTs have been dismantled. The 2 young guns need to work together in tandem. Solid deagle from c0ntact. There's another one. Not too far off a third. Could have gave Mousesports a lifeline, but it's been ripped away from them. And with his demise, c0ntact Gaming should propel themselves into a 5-0 lead. And they will. Holy shit, Danny. Thank you for the 5 gifted, bro. Thank you, Dai as well. I appreciate the support, guys. 5-0. BMAS and Carrigan yet to get off the mark, both on 0 kills, 0 assists. Another buy comes into play. Mousesports this time have 2 AWPs. Slowly edging their way through on the B-App side. Our c0ntact, they still have Spinks, who is hiding over in Palace, can maybe act as a diversion or try and flank behind them once rotations do come into play. It's an important round for Mousesports. Already 5-0 behind, and most of these rounds have been lightning fast. This round has taken a little bit longer. 35 seconds on the timer, and now c0ntact press in. First AWP of Carrigan. Dismantled, frozen, tagged up so heavily. Forced back, and c0ntact shuts him down before he can retreat and tunnel out of there. c0ntact, it's not through Palace where he strikes and makes his efforts known. It's through middle. But the flank is still a good one. And then has the audacity to dink BMAS partially through the wall. Drags him down to 73, making sure that Mousesports are pushed back and cannot possibly feasibly go for a retake. c0ntact Gaming putting on a clinic. This has been so straightforward. And with the exception of a pretty beautiful, brisk 3k from Frozen's Deagle, actually it was a 2k I believe, and was close to landing a third kill. But other than that moment, this has been incredibly dire for Mousesports. They have offered very, very little in terms of a challenge. BMAS will hold on to his M4, but when you consider that we're getting into round 7 and they only have 9 kills collectively on the whole of Mousesports, it doesn't bode particularly well. Carrigan's on for a potential 007. Meanwhile, Esperanto and c0ntact are balling out of control on 7-1 and 6-1, and Esperanto with 3 assists alongside that. It's all looking a little bit easy. 2 M4s, one of which in the hands of Rops. And he will not miss his chance. c0ntact reeled out. That does allow the chance now of maybe something to come into play for Mousesports. Carrigan with his Deagle. Aim is true, delivering the second onto c0ntact, and so often you see this happen with one of the worst buys a team possesses. They somehow make it work. They go for aggression, they throw caution to the wind, and they get the rewards. It could even be a clean sweep, picking up a ton of weapons in the process. This could be a great boost to Mousesports' economy. And it's looking like that's going to be the case. Otto, last man standing. The Finn misses his AWP shot. He will be punished. So Mousesports have been waiting, anticipating the chance of a round. And when it comes along, it is flawless. People still saying the sound is quiet. Am I being debated here, guys? Because I've turned it up a ton. It's back to the settings it was yesterday, and not a single person complained yesterday. This is the issue with following Twitch advice, right? Some people like a good old troll. If one of my mods could let me know, like someone that's trusted, then I'll tweak it a little bit. Regardless, see that the money from Mousesports does take a quick, sharp upward trend. But the most important moment now is whether they can string some rounds together. It's all well and good bouncing back into a round that you probably shouldn't be winning with 2 M4s. But can you connect the dots? Need to boost into window. c0ntact looking up into the ladders, sees nobody. And holding position for a while. There's still plenty of time left. And this is a bit of an off angle you wouldn't often assume is being taken from the opposition. And one of the issues that c0ntact had yesterday is when they were running into the gauntlet and they were getting repelled and they were losing some rounds, they often didn't quite have the answer. They weren't able to tweak. They're a team that still needs some time together. Maybe they don't have the full strat page locked in. Can be an issue. So if Carrigan can tweak a few settings, maybe that is the way forward. Or perhaps not. Snappy straight in with an entry. And great cover from c0ntact. AK in hand, gets dinked, but still takes off the head of Rops. And then spins around to Carrigan. He is a player that many are looking for to be the next big thing, or at least one of the next big things. And with moments like that, you see why. Guy has insane aim. And, well, we're going to have pretty much the return coming into play here. Mousesports, clean sweep, contact, a flawless round, contact save. Cool. We'll do the same. No problems. No casualties on the T side, and Frozen may be afforded the luxury of saving this M4, which would be pretty significant considering he is the least money on the CT side. This does mean they can get in another very healthy buy in the next one. But the problem comes into play now that they struck once from hyper-aggression, they went back to default, and they have been beaten again. Now, whereas the money on both teams is okay-ish, that's awkward Frozen. We'll just pretend that never happened. Whereas the money is okay on both teams, it's the currency at the top of your screen that reads very poorly for Mousesports. They are 7-1 behind on the CT side of Mirage. This is why some people raised their eyebrow when they saw that Contact Gaming were afforded the chance to play Mirage in the first place. This is their best map statistically. Their home map, you could say. Flashes out. Frozen flashes himself more so than anyone else. No one checks the van. And now Frozen punishes too with his M4. But he finally comes to an abrupt end. Carrigan now had a slow start. It would be a great time for him to step up to the plate. But he unfortunately only gets one. And now the tag team duos of Snappy and Esperanto firing off against Rops and BMAS. And they have at least got one back. But there's Esperanto with another. He moves on to 8 kills. Contact move on to 8 rounds. And Mousesports have to hang their heads in shame as they try to put together some ideas. I'm kind of surprised that we've not seen a tactical timeout in the last couple rounds from Mousesports, because this is already getting dangerously out of control. Carrigan has just been destroyed as well there. Not quite sure what happened. As Chris J gets dropped hard, Rops does at least fire back for one, but has the damage already been inflicted? Will the hemorrhaging wound be untenable for Mousesports? Nice frag from Frozen, but he's instantly traded. Keeping that player advantage on side of the T's. Still plenty of time to burn as well. c0ntact can take that sweet time on the approach. Really enjoy this. Savor it. BMAS trying to play up close. This is an awkward angle. You can see as he checks to his left and right. He knows that this is untenable as a position, so it puts him in a really awkward spot. If he can get the first kill onto Snappy, which he has, then he can turn his attention towards Palace. And he's got 2. That's huge. That's all they could have asked for from him. And he's weakened Esperanto down to 31 HP. Now, Rops has a nade, and he has the AWP. And Esperanto may be anticipating that Rops would still be around the B site and had time to wiggle away and run. Gets caught in transition. And I think a lot of that is down to the fact that he was low HP. He could have got peeked from CT boxes, which would have definitely been in the back of his mind, but also thinking, Jesus, if a stray grenade or Molotov fires my way, I'm basically doomed. So I have to try and take the initiative, roll the dice, and it didn't work out for him. So excellent work from BMAS on ramp. Mousesports with a second. But already, regardless of what happens, they will be trailing come the second half. Esperanto with some aggression, charging straight out onto A. Rops is there, laid in wait, flashbang out, and a ton of grenades exchanged between the two teams. But look at Contact. They've already moved into Shadow. They've already moved into Firebox. And they have Snappy, who spots Rops. And his shoe just around the corner. This J with a solid headshot, keeping the dream alive. Keeping Mousesports just about in this, but Esperanto has other plans. He continues to push in. Chris J, aggression through the smoke delivers before he's traded out from Esperanto once more. And now the 1v2 favoring c0ntact Gaming with Carrigan on the AWP. Looking to roll back the years. And instead, he gets rolled back into his grave. c0ntact Gaming 9, Mousesports 2, and their economy in no place to support a buy. Now, do keep in mind before people start overreacting, this is c0ntact Gaming's map and they're no scrubs. You've been watching these guys a fair amount. You know that they have a lot of ability and talent on the team. It has also been a bit of a reoccurring theme that they pick up Mirage and then they end up losing the next two maps. Happened yesterday. It happened in the first day of the tournament as well. Esperanto, two beautiful entries against Mousesports, who realistically don't have too much to play with, but they've put that Deagle and M4 to use. Carrigan coming alive, not far off another one. Smuya needs to be careful, but he has Snappy moving into position. Solid headshot onto Carrigan, opens up the site somewhat. They still need to be wary and cognizant of Rops, but he has also been dealt with swiftly. BMAS walks through. Oh, that's a money grenade. Wrecks him, submerges him back down to 21 as he gasps for air at the back of the site. Winded, wounded, and surely finished off very shortly. Or perhaps not. BMAS with the Deagle. Now shows his hand, has an AK alongside it. If they want to try and win this map, it's going to be plays like this that bring them back into the matchup. Smuya has the right idea, but he doesn't hold the line. 20 seconds, time itself becoming a bit of an enemy, and Smuya realizing he can't afford to back away. He tries to change the angle of assault, and BMAS with the headshot pulls off the clutch somehow, someway. On a measly 21 HP after being shredded from a grenade. A 1-dig, a 1-tap, and Mousesports with a third round. We are going to have to see a whole lot more of that, though, if Mousesports bring this map back. They have at least broken down the economy of c0ntact, who are now down to 3 players below $1,000. This could be the way forward. We could even see a 9-6 score come the end of the half, which would be somewhat of a miracle considering how one-sided this game started. Spinks on the prowl with the AK. Ever vigilant, checking all of his angles. Carrigan with 2. 006 at one point. Now he's waking up. But he will take a nap for a few more moments until the next round. Tag on Spinks through the smoke with the AWP of Chris J. Now Otto awkwardly boosting up Smuya onto the stairway. If he can try and change up the angles, have a quick look into connector. There could be a flank coming into play from Chris J's AWP. He is moving around the back of the middle area towards T-spawn. Just needs his teammates to stay alive a little bit longer. And so c0ntact playing this slowly could very well work to their detriment. However, bomb plant is forthcoming. Otto can now change his position. Rob's tossing up the smoke to try and allow them some free passage, but it could do more harm than good. They're boosting up on the CT boxes. This could work straight into Otto's hands. They need Chris J to have impact, and they need him to come around the corner right now. So let's jump on board with him. There's the first. Now the flank is known. The ploy has been revealed. Spinks stuck in Palace. It has to come down to Smuya. Smuya, the last line of defense, flashing out, will peek in. Needs to deny the bomb plant. Gets the bomb planter down. And that could be enough for the round, you know. It will be. peeking round the corner, taking the bomb defusal down, and c0ntact Gaming pick up a 10th. Mousesports in ruin again. It was so well done with that vigilant discipline from Connector, but Spinks did his job as well. They peeked simultaneously, 2 separate angles. I think it may have been Spinks that actually got the kill in the end, even though it looked like Smia may pick up the frag. It doesn't really matter who got the kill, because the end result is the same. It's c0ntact already double digits, with Mousesports in a position where they will be forcing. But you're going to see a pretty grim buy coming up. They do have an AWP, but a FAMAS in play. I'd imagine there's probably some people in chat that haven't seen much of c0ntact Gaming so far. But they've been pretty damn impressive. A lot of potential here. Am I allowed personal sponsors? Yeah, I'm not paid to do these streams. I do them on my own time, but also obviously I'm not going to be a moron and say that they don't massively help the stream. Of course they do. They help me grow. But I'm not directly paid by DreamHack to do them. Esperanto nearly with 2. Damage inflicted to Rob, so he has to piece out of there. So I could get sponsorships. It's that I typically don't, because most of them are from dodgy places. And I want to feel comfortable that I'm being represented, or I'm representing a sponsorship that I believe in fully, you know? So that's why I typically don't have them, but that may change in the future. We'll see. Back to the game. c0ntact Gaming. Ooh, Smia with the last bullet. Piercing through the triple box. Just nullifying. In a vitally important round, if we're being honest. Mousesports would be eyeing up a very poor buy in the last round. I mean, this could even be a 12-3 half. They have isolated from one another. Separated into a 1-1 formation. Karrigan playing deep and passive on the A site with the AWP. Makes sense. And Frozen playing up close on B. Looking at the utility for c0ntact, a ton of flashbangs. It could become a bit of a snowstorm on one of the sites once all those flashes come in. I definitely do not envy Mousesports' position. 25 seconds though. If c0ntact take their sweet time to get onto the site, and we're looking at 15-10 seconds to play with, Karrigan may only need 1 kill. He may only need to deny the bomb planter, and time may do the rest, as it so often does. Now the flashbang comes out, 10 seconds on the clock. Karrigan, how's your aim? It's not on point, but he was flashed. And enough time for the plant with 5 seconds. Frozen baited in, and he gets shut down from Spinks. 11-3. And Mousesports have $4,000, 450 for Chris J, as the most money on their team. Plenty of players around the $3,000 mark. And Dualism, thank you very much. That is incredibly generous of you with those gifted subs. I did catch that out the corner of my eye. Thank you. Very kind. Has to pay it back after the wrecking dust yesterday. I see how it is. Thanks a lot. Boy, oh boy, I thought this game might be close. I thought Mirage would be a coin flip. c0ntact Gaming's best chance, but I never foresaw it would be this one-sided. Realistically, how many of you in chat thought that we would be eyeing up a potential 12-3 for c0ntact Gaming? Be honest. How many of you thought this was a doable thing? And yet here we are. Mouse are being schooled. Straight up slapped. Otto laying in wait. The Finn does strike. And it's Chris J, the Dutchman. Then it's put down a peg. Alongside Frozen, 12-3. An incredibly fast half of Counter-Strik. ending briskly. Mousesports can do little but scratch their heads and wonder what the hell just happened. This is indeed the first map. Yep, if you do exclamation maps in chat, it will let you know who picked which map and what the scores were. So it is the very first map of the day. In our first best of 3, there will be another one. The winner of this game plays Endpoint next, who are waiting in the next stage of the lower brackets. And of course, because this is the lower brackets, the loser of this game is eliminated. They have no chance at qualifying for DreamHack Open Fall, which is in about a month's time, or just under a month's time now, I believe it starts. So plenty to play for. We saw North yesterday dispatch of Endpoint to knock them down to the lower brackets in the semi-finals of the upper bracket. They move on to the upper bracket finals. They have already qualified. They're now just playing for seeding. Obviously, it can have a pretty big impact depending on which group you get drawn into. You could get drawn into a group of death, so if they can get the top seeding, then things will be looking pretty good. But they have already qualified. Endpoint are in the next stage of the bracket, as I said before, so they're pretty far on, I would say, in the tournament. Every chance to still qualify. And for those of you that haven't seen Endpoint, it's another team that is performing so well. They knocked out Mousesports in the first place, down into the lower brackets, and then they beat Mobistar Riders. And yesterday was really back and forth. It went to a third map against North. 16-10, 16-10, 16-11, if memory serves me correctly. But to be honest, Vertigo could very well have gone the way of Endpoint. They did lose a couple of rounds that they probably shouldn't have. Thank you very much for the followers as well, guys. So as I said before, we'll be casting another best of 3 after this on the same channel, of course. And then tomorrow we'll have another 2 best of 3s, and we'll find out which of the teams qualifies and where their seedings will end up being. So plenty CS, still closed IP and open IP games on my channel in the future, and a bunch of different games. So if you've enjoyed your stay, then thank you very much for following, and I hope to see you again in the future. If you're just here for the Counter-Strik, no worries, because the second half is coming up right now. Mousesports have a bit of utility, and you feel like this is pretty much go big or go home. You have to win the pistol into this. Like, that has to be the first couple of hurdles they navigate themselves past. Nothing else will do. Because c0ntact are very strong on this map. They are going to have a solid CT side. Out come the T's. Mousesports. How's the aim? Esperanto. Pixel perfect with his headshot. Rops does answer back onto Spinksto. And Esperanto comes back out swinging through the smoke. An aggressive play catching the T's off guard. They were momentarily weakened because of the bomb plant. Effectively put them a player down. And now Chris J spotting a player down on the CT side accordingly. Now the 2 CTs turning their attention towards the site, but they're both missing, leaving it on Smuya. He's already landed 1, running out of bullets, running out of health and time. Yeah, as good as Smuya is, as crisp as his aim may be, Mouse surprisingly, it's me that's actually bottom fragging for c0ntact. He's typically one of their plays that role does go to Otto. But we saw him yesterday with a rifle play exceptionally well. But just a bit of an off day. Maybe it hasn't been required. At the end of the day, his team were winning 12-3 come the second half. But clearly a lot was going right for them. If some of those players start to dip a little bit in performance, then maybe players like c0ntact will be called upon to step up and deliver. Now it's taking their sweet time. Perhaps anticipating that c0ntact will play some aggressive play up the likes of middle or perhaps through B-apps. Just holding in and looking to try and strangle c0ntact where they can. BMAS already has taken a fair chunk of damage. Down to 51, so he will need to be careful. Otto has the right idea and actually hits BMAS through the smoke. The weakened mouse player has been eradicated. And now c0ntact, perched on the balcony through the smoke, will be waiting for any oncoming tease. Alleviating the pressure. That first kill comes in. Esperanto, unfortunate with the timing, just looks to his right as he gets peeked, but now Spinks round the backside has c0ntact to try and pivot off. Sprays in for another one. Frozen and Chris J need to hold the line. They still need to get the bomb plant, and actually no, they don't. Scrap that. They get both the kills in the space of a second, and they bypass the necessity of the bomb plant with 15 seconds to go. It was looking dodgy, to say the least. Why do I do the casting for free? I get a chance to cast it on my channel, dude. So obviously, like, people sub, people donate, people do stuff like with bits and follows, and it builds the stream, you know? You get revenue from the ads. So even though I don't directly get paid from DreamHack, I still get paid to a degree from this, but I also just really enjoy it, and it helps grow my stream. There's a lot of positives. If nothing else, I just enjoy casting. I always have. Even if I was casting to 10 people, I'd enjoy it. I've been doing it a very long time, and for most of that time, I didn't really get paid anything to do it in the first place. So as long as you guys enjoy it, and I'm having fun, it's all good, right? But I'm also not going to pretend that there aren't any, like, you know, advantages to doing it on my channel for games like this. Definitely helps the stream grow. Either way, doesn't look like c0ntact will attempt this retake. They are in good positions, but without a kit or any grenades, it's not really looking feasible. They have a Mach 10. They will have a buy into the next round regardless, so they could maybe try and take some players down with the bomb. Maybe even sacrifice themselves to take as many of these AKs and Mach 10s as possible. The frustrating element of this is 2 of them will die to the bomb, but they've done the damage. They kill 3, albeit I think 2 of those were Mach 10s. So they were the expendable weapons anyway on Mousesports. That they were perhaps looking to upgrade anyway. But still, a nice effort from c0ntact. Mousesports, though, we said, for them to come back into this, it would need to be the pistol and to convert up to 6 rounds. And they've done just that. Now, if they can keep the economy of c0ntact low and awkward, there is a way back in. Double AWPs, a hefty investment. c0ntact not leaving much in the bank balance. And with no kits and lack of grenades, not a single incendiary in play, they have the firepower, but they don't have too much else. They will be perching into positions that allows them to take those first c0ntact plays. Neither of these teams qualify off the back of this game, Jonathan. They're in the lower brackets. They move forward. They keep themselves alive. That's basically what they're playing for right now. Further down the line, they may qualify still. But not yet. Frozen's patience will be repaid in full. Esperanto goes looking, finds the information he was looking for, but at great cost, and Spinks can only muster up the strength for 1 frag. Otto in an awkward position, may go unchecked with his AWP, but now that he's fired off, it's all a case of staying alive long enough for the rest of his teammates to pivot in and help out. Now they're both flanking from the T side, and Karrigan's AWP probably just puts an end to this round. Both AWPs will be saved. They're not too shabby. Hey, thanks a lot for the Twitch Primes, guys, and the subs. Really do appreciate all of those. You want to see the pings? Here we go. While we're here, let's have a look at the ADR as well. It has reset after the halftime. I wish that wasn't a thing, but it is, which is a bit of a nightmare. But you can see in this half, Rops has 120, Esperanto with 104 ADR, so the two of them are performing well since the halftime break. Holy shit, Kuton, thank you very much, dude. Jesus, you guys really don't need to, but thank you very much for the support. Otto onto Karrigan. Important pick. One of the two saved AWPs is already paying off for c0ntact. But credit to Mousesports. They have gone flawless thus far on their T side. This could be the first slip, though. I actually didn't even mean the c0ntact play pun. I said it and then I immediately was like, oh no. It's the same thing when you cast like crucial, right? You want to say like a crucial kill, but then you realize that it just comes across as really cringy like a pun, even though you don't mean it to. Or if you're casting big, a big moment, it's like, oh Jesus, why have I said that? Molly into Sandwich. Just clearing all of their angles. Another molly onto Ninja. Smuya will be forced back, but in doing so, opens up himself for the kill into BMAS. Good return kills, however, from Mousesports. Opening up the site. Frozen, going straight through into Connector, and Rops joins alongside him. Otto, last man standing, again has to save, and Mousesports continue their unbeaten streak on T side. That moves it to 5-0 on this half. c0ntact Gaming potentially capitulating. They're down into horrible money. Well, not whatever I want. I mean, I still want to take the games like seriously. You know, if the game is good and if there's great moments, I want to give the players the respect they deserve of casting the games properly. But in like the downtime, it's a lot more sort of chill and relaxed, you know? Like I can curse, it's on my stream ultimately. It's a lot more laid back. But at the same time, I do want to give the games like the respect they deserve. And it's been a little while since I last casted. I think it would have been like Beyond the Summit maybe. A good month or two ago. So, because I enjoy casting like, you know, good CS. I just get into it. Just fun. But yeah, it is a little bit more relaxed, for sure. And because I'm doing it solo, it allows me to like bounce ideas off you guys and like interact with you guys. Unfortunately, there is like a pretty lengthy delay, so it makes it a little bit harder to have that sort of back and forth interactivity. But if I spot someone asking a question in chat or just, you know, mentioning something, then I'll bounce off that. Betis, there's a name I haven't heard in a little while. Who the fuck is that guy? Otto. Ooh, that second smoke completely wrecks him. He would have been on the right line and the right trajectory to potentially get a double. They could have lined up for the man, but instead, he has to back away. And not for the first time, Mousesports making the most of this A site. Sure, this round, it's pistols alongside the AWP. It is a weakened round anyway, but even with rifles, even with a full investment, c0ntact haven't really been able to contain Mousesports. Clearly, Karrigan has made a read. There was a flank, and there still is a flank coming in from Smuya. who can maybe drop one player, but that's the best case scenario, as he can potentially knock down Rops. He will wait to see if more players line up for him. There goes Rops looking for the second one, but the Deagle works against him, and his teammate's gone down, so he will look to save the AK. Now, I said this before, when c0ntact were on the T side, and they started to lose a couple of rounds, and one of my main concerns with this roster right now is it's still fairly young and fairly fresh, is how do they bounce out of these awkward situations where they've lost a flurry of rounds? Do they have a plan B and a plan C? Do they have that tactical notebook that they can delve into and come out with some fresh ideas? I'm not so sure that's a thing that they possess just yet. So this is where I get a little bit concerned for them. They've lost the last 6 rounds. There's clearly some weaknesses, some chinks in the armor. And how do they plug in the gaps? Well, they haven't used a tactical timeout. Smooya with 2. This is one way that they can dig themselves out of this ditch. Individual skill and talent. And they have that in abundance. Smooya is going in for more. The timing works against him. He's unfortunate, but now needs to rest on the rest of his team to get the job done. He's giving the best possible foundations, but Frozen smashes in. Taking 3 in as many seconds. And with that kill streak, the round may very well follow. Throwing the Molotov in just to allow him safe passage into connector and not getting peeked from Catwalk. But unbeknownst to Frozen and the rest of Mousesports, B-site is completely vacant. They've given this up. Now with Otto's shot, they may have a better idea as to what's up against them. And in a 2v2, will c0ntact feasibly go for this? Now surely you'd think after being 6 rounds in a row that you've been manhandled, with a 2-on-2, the best chance you've had in quite some time, this will give you an indication as to how their confidence is. And they're not interested. They are not interested in that retake. They had a kit, they had some grenades, but I suppose it comes down to how's the rest of our economy looking? We still have a bit of a buffer of rounds. Sure, the momentum is definitely against us now, but Smooya is up to probably $8,000-9,000 after this round, so he can drop. They can still rummage together a buy. So 9.6k for Smooya. So they could force out a buy here, and that's probably one of the determining factors as to why they don't go for that retake. But at some point, they will start having to go for them. It won't be enough to just save weapons. It won't be enough to dip out and play intelligently. You're going to have to start to go in and take Mousesports out of their comfort zone. Some people would have left this game at 12-3, create a drink or make some food or something and come back thinking it would already be over, and to their shock, Mousesports actually only 2 rounds behind c0ntact. 7 in a row. 7-0 on this half. Mouse roster change is also just recently, sure, but they have Carrigan, who's one of the most veteran IGLs and players in the entirety of Counter-Strik. A player that can easily take people under his wing, has a lot of ideas on how CS works, is exceptionally good at getting the best out of players. So, I get your point, but I think Carrigan has a few more laps. And has a few more ideas. He's been here, done it multiple times at much higher levels than this. Otto has got the first kill on the side of c0ntact. One of the 2 AWPs has rung out, but now the aggression. They've mixed it up from primarily A hits to now predominantly B hits. And Snappy, head will be caved in. Esperanto shows his hands. A miss will allow BMAS the chance to maybe take some more kills. How is he still alive? How is he still putting this USP to use? And he's keeping them interested long enough that Esperanto is being tagged and fragged, leaving Otto the first man to pick up a frag. It could come full circle for the Finn. The call may come through that BMAS is low, and a USP will seal the deal. 1 bullet could finish this off for c0ntact. 18 seconds. Could this be their first CT round? Or will BMAS pull this out the rabbit and make it work? He won't. He gets shut down from the USP. I was going to say, can you pull the rabbit out the hat? It's a dud. The magic trick does not work. And c0ntact, for the first time on their CT side, get around, get themselves back into this. And that is always the issue with trailing by a vast deficit. You can go flawless. You can be running through the opposition, but all it takes is for one mistake. All it takes for one bright moment from the other team, and you're suddenly 3 rounds behind again. And the pressure mounts and swells once more. They go back to the old faithful. They go back to the old A-hits. And Spinks has pushed them away with his M4. He goes in for another. It will be 2 to Spinks. Otto has to use the safety of the smoke to back away. And the fact that they got 2 kills means that he doesn't feel too pressured to go back in for more. If they'd lost a player, he may have stuck around and gone for a peek. Arrogant, snaking his way through connector. Gets himself 2 at cost to his health. Molly out onto the CT boxes, forces the 2 CTs away. Now, they won't realize this, but both the Ts are incredibly low. Now, Mousesports have been put down again. It's down to Rops. He has the bomb in hand. We'll get the full plant across. Otto's not in position to deal with him. And would do well to wait for his teammate. You don't want to give Rops 2 1v1s. That is the main way that he can come back into this. Both players have AWPs. The timing doesn't favor Smuya as he gets tapped out of existence. And now Rops can play the mind games. Otto does not have a kit. Has a smoke, and that's basically it. Can he salvage a kit somewhere else on the site? It doesn't look good. Down, tickles the bomb, draws Rops out into the open, who's moving in. The AWP shot goes too narrow, doesn't land. Time is too scarce. This round is going the way of Mousesports. Rops has got it done. He didn't need to bask in the glory of a 1v2 in terms of frags. He can let the bomb do the work for him. And Mouse bring it back to 13-11. Another 2-round deficit, and the money on c0ntact is rough. You would think, watching this game, that Mirage is an incredibly T-sided map. I think combined on both sides, it's what, 4 rounds on the CT side? 3 in the first half and 1 in the second half. It's crazy. 4 rounds. And we're moving into the 25th round in regulation. Both CT sides have been rough, to say the least. Otto saved AWP alongside an MP9. But we've seen buys like this work out so many times in recent memory. And there's another one. Flick out misses. Mousesports will be weary of all these angles. Now they've heard pistols rattling out. They'll know pretty much what's up against them. But it's the SMG from Spinks. They'll put them into a player advantage, but not for long. Rops and Chris J work in tandem. And a dispatch of c0ntact. It's at the cost of 3 players, which is pretty costly in terms of finances, but they're okay. They can replenish those guns without too much of an issue. Double AWPs in play again for c0ntact. Full AK-47s, interesting. They could have afforded an AWP, but they decided to run with the full rifles. Great shot from Smuya. That's always the power with this c0ntact gaming team. They have Otto as primary, but Smuya as a secondary. That's one hell of a combination. I do wonder if it puts more pressure on their CT sides overall if they want to keep going for double AWPs. In situations like this, if they lose a bunch of rounds and their economy is constantly in the bin, it can have a pretty poor impact across the board. Be something to look into going forward, but in the here and now, it has worked out for them. One incendiary, but no kits. May not be called upon. they can deal with this A-side hit. Otto with the first and able to scamper off and throw a smoke in there. Won't deter Chris J. He's going in for blood. He wants vengeance, and he finds it in the form of one. Does check his angle, but Spinks able to stand tall for two. And this M4 may very well seal the deal for Esperanto and c0ntact. Indeed, it shall. Mousesports trail by 2 rounds again. And this is where those 3 players they lost a couple rounds ago does catch up with them. Now their money, not fantastic. Now they will not be able to afford an AWP, even if they want one. And to make matters worse, after this round is come and passed, if they are on the receiving end of a battering and they take another L, they will have pretty much $0 in the bank. Like another A-sided hit. They have Frozen in middle, who is bypassing the smoke and bypassing the player of Esperanto to actually weasel his way in. Can't get the spray down, but spotting Spinks. Carrigan finishes off the rest. Esperanto wrong side of the smoke, but does deal with the Frozen threat. And now spraying up through there, trying to take a couple players' heads off. Postplan falls upon us. The smoke clears, and the 2-man stack of Rops and Chris J is good enough to potentially yield the round. Smuya up on stairs with the AWP, not anticipating the sandwich player. And now Esperanto is the filling between the delicious crusts of Carrigan and Chris J. And that's a sentence I didn't think I'd say when I woke up this morning. But there you go, it's happened now. Mousesports 13, c0ntact 14. And it's their turn to feel the burn. Their money in the drain. Half by coming up. More than likely, I assume they don't force. It would be madness if they did. You still have a slight advantage. You have to tip your hat to Rops, though. He's had a phenomenal T-half. It's going to be a fast B hit. There's 3 players stacked here. This could spell demise for Mousesports, or perhaps not. They've mitigated most of that threat. Esperanto with the dig round the corner, running back in again towards bench, trying to get information, but he's been sprayed out of his misery. And now Spinks 1v3. Able to get round the back of the T's. Maybe a couple kills forthcoming, but the Deagle so often so cruel. All even, guys. And a tactical timeout with the finish line just a few meters away for both teams running neck and neck. Could be a photo finish. Both desperately grasping for this first map in our best of 3 in the lower brackets. Hence finish to our first map. Looked like it would be anything but come halftime. That is one of the beautiful aspects of Counter-Strik. You never quite know what's going to happen next. So here we go. Back live again. The double AWPs, as ever, on the CT side. Whenever c0ntact have been able to afford them, they've gone for them. HE, significant damage inflicted to BMAS, and even worse onto Chris J. Esperanto now doing a whole ton of damage. Frozen using that slight gap in the smoke. Get the better of Otto. He went walkies with one of his AWPs. The Molotov tossed in. Esperanto goes in. It's actually too wide. Didn't affect him at all. And there's another one for Smuya. It seems like c0ntact Gaming will have a map point after all. It's only Carrigan and BMAS, who's been destroyed off a grenade earlier on, that stand against the 4-man strong squad. And make that all Carrigan. He has to dip into that box of tricks if he wants to clutch this, and he comes out empty-handed. As will Mousesports, potentially. Their last round of regulation sees them in a very poor situation economically. They're probably only able to afford 2 rifles, and that's if BMAS wants to get a Galil. Let's have a look. Does he go for the Galil? Do they want to prioritize more utility? So Carrigan dropped the AK across to Rops, who is in fine form, understandably. Galil has been purchased. Where does Chris J come down? Kind of player that can use a scout, and he's in that kind of economic situation, but it's more of a second round buy. Well, there you go. He has picked up the scout. I always thought it would be a possibility with Chris. He does love the scout, and he has had many a highlight moment with this gun. He's that awkward position where he couldn't really afford a Galil, couldn't really afford to have a great buy with a pistol. And so he goes for the potential one-tap ability and to weaken up players for the rest of his teammates. You can see the play is hoping that c0ntact Gaming overextends. They let the adrenaline surge through their veins, maybe a little bit too much, but instead it's a bullet passing between the eyes of Otto. A beautiful 1D from Frozen, but he is countered straight away. Which is good news for c0ntact, because if Frozen had gone in for a second, that could have opened up the floodgates. The flashbang is on point from BMAS, and Rops will follow it up. Keep in mind, he's a player on fire right now, and you can see with his aim, it's crisp. Lighting a fire underneath c0ntact Gaming. And the heat is too much to handle on B side. It will fall. As that map point evaporates in front of their very eyes. But perhaps Spinks and Esperanto. And condense this back down again with their AKs. Spinks smashed by BMAS up close, who speculatively starts to fire through the smoke, and he had the right idea. Mousesports weathered the storm, coming back from a 12-3 half on their T side, take it 12-3. 6 rounds out of 30 went to the CT sides. Something you do not hear very often on Mirage, but here we are. Which would suggest, in overtime, CT rounds will be worth their weight in gold. Now, from yesterday, if memory serves me correctly, I'm pretty sure it's 10k money. Which does put a bit more economic strain on the CT side in particular, especially if c0ntact want to go for those double AWPs. So let's do this. Overtime. First to 19 takes it home. If we go 18, of course, we will get the double OT in play. Now, do they go for double AWPs? They do. Not too surprised at that. Mousesports, who at one point really changed up the pace and started hitting A fast, and B rushes were coming into play, have now slowed it down. Made c0ntact stew on their decisions. And think this one over, mull it over. Smokes are tossed in. They don't fully force behind this, and Chris J, it's by design. They fake out. They throw in the smokes. They've seen that these fast rotations have come into play in rounds gone by. They waited, they anticipated, and they got rewarded for it. The downside, though, is they've used a ton of their grenades in the process. They only have 1 smoke left to execute with. but plenty of flashbangs and Molotovs. An awkward moment for Snappy. He still doesn't have the gun. Imagine he gets pushed through the smoke there. He'd be absolutely fuming. Molly onto balcony. No one home. Mousesports still not fully showing their hand. This is a really strange pick and mix approach, but wraps around the side. And it was all down to this. Unleash the Estonian. Let him go to task. A man on a mission, a one-man wrecking crew. And how Spinks and Esperanto can do little but save. The AK, well worth the save. And of course, again, as I highlighted just before, with the 10k in play, when you've gone for 2 AWPs, it does put a big strain on your economy. So it allows one of them, or perhaps even both, to drop an AWP to Smuya and Otto if they want to go for it again. We'll find that out in the next 15-20 seconds. But Mousesports take the lead in overtime. So there we have it. They have gone for the dropped AWPs. They retain the AK, of course. And c0ntact come back in again. Smuya with a bit of aggression, hopping over towards Catwalk. Does go for a peek, but there is a flashbang there to greet him. Mousesports, again, not really giving away too much in the early stages. Playing this one a bit more passively. They do have the likes of Frozen just occupying outside of B apps in case we see another flank. But I do love that little tweak. And to do it in overtime as well. Reading what's happened. Designating a play to catch out that fast rotation. Beautiful Counter-Strik. And this is where the veterancy and the experience that Karrigan possesses really does show itself. Goes to show that the c0ntact aren't too far off the pace. Give them more time. They will be an exceptionally good team, I'm sure of it, if they stick together. Chris J with the AK. Great entry. Smuya will have to use that smoke. Gives him free passage to put a bullet down range. Chris J gets punished, but they're keeping 2 players on B. This leaves the A side that little bit weaker, and Spinks with 1, catching Robs jumping out into the open. Does get answered back, but now Frozen with the AK. Opening that site one more time, leaving Smuya and Snappy with a huge task ahead of them. A retake with only a smoke and a flash, which have just been taken off the table, leaving Smuya 1 versus 3 against the world, and he cannot withstand the pressure that Karrigan puts down on him. 17-15, and now the money starting to hurt. Esperanto to a deagle, Snappy to a deagle, and they're still going for the double AWPs. They feel like this is the way forward. It's easy to be, Captain Hindsight. We have all the information, the minimap, all of that good stuff. We're not in the middle of playing the game and focusing on our aim and a million different things at once. But I wonder if c0ntact will go back and watch this game and wonder, maybe we shouldn't have invested so heavily on double AWPs time and time again, when a lot of the rounds came down to brisk executions where AWPs do get caught out. Seems like they've tried to stick with the same rough ideas over and over again, even when it's not working, which is kind of the definition of insanity. More heads being thrown against the wall, and Smuya joining by Snappy have to try and retake again. Smuya's aim, enough to dispatch of Frozen, but they're dealing the damage down from Karrigan's Tech 9, and down goes Smuya. It's a flawless, clean sweep overtime. 3 map points now find their way to Mousesports. 12-3 down at halftime. And now they just need to convert one of the next 3 rounds. And they take Contact Gaming's choice and move across to nuke next. 1-0 in the lead. Out to find out if they can convert. But again, I go back to my original point. Only 6 rounds in regulation found their way on the CT side. So Contact Gaming, they're down. No doubt, but they're not out just yet. They had a beautiful T-half. Since then, I'd say it's a fair point to say the confidence might be down a little bit. They've been on the receiving end of a lot of L's in these rounds. But this is now a test of their mettle. What are they made of? Do they have the grit? Do they have the tenacity to battle back and take us to another overtime? Or is this where things just get a bit out of control? BMAS up close. Dropping down. Otto, perfect timing, but gets traded. Finds them boosting up. But it's Rops that still stands, and he is one of the main players. Snappy, though, coming in for 2. And it seems like Contact Gaming have not lost a step since their regulation T-half. To me, you're giving Rops a couple of chances with the AWP, and he won't miss either of the shots. That's a beautiful flash, and Esperanto's aim is up to the task as well. There is the first tick being put into place. Contact Gaming need 2 more where that came from. Mouse definitely could go for double AWPs. And a team that has a fair amount of players that can use it. I mean, Chris J, certainly a player that's more than capable of using it alongside Carrigan, but they decide they want to go for the firepower instead. And interestingly, Chris could have fully invested in grenades, but only picked up a flashbang. I don't know if that's because he wants to keep enough money in the back pocket for potentially the next round. But mate, if you win this round, you win the game. Surely you've got to have that confidence that you can just outright win from here. Rather than keeping a little bit of money in the back pocket. Contact slowly edging their way towards the A site. They do have a double-pronged attack lined up. Esperanto waiting in the wings of Connector. Waiting to be told to push out into the open. This leaves a lot of pressure for BMAS. He's on Sandwich all alone. He's gone unchecked so far. No Molotovs have been firing his way. Out comes Spinks, headshot delivered into BMAS, and that is the last line of defense that goes with him. Esperanto waiting, anticipating, headshot delivered on Rops. And now, things looking a bit ominous for Mousesports. They push through the smoke, but that's into Smuya's AK. And there's another one. Not only do Mousesports concede this round, they probably only save 1 gun, which puts them into a terrible bye in the final round of overtime. This is maybe where Chris J not investing fully is somewhat of a lifeline. No save for Frozen. So Rops can get an M4. Chris J could even get an AWP if he chooses to. Rest of the play is going to be on a fairly grim buy though. XM, Deagle, what does BMAS go for? MP9. Chris keeps a hold of the AWP as well. Nice shot from Otto. Spinks tagged down to 4, but still alive. Otto can safeguard him. Switching the weapons to allow Spinks the opportunity to fire off with the AWP. Carrigan, right idea, and actually nails Snapper through the smoke. I thought for a second he'd get both, but Rops will make sure that Esperanto plays no further part in this round. 3v3. Actually doable on the CT side. Otto snaking his way outside of A. They haven't fully designated where their final resting place will come down. They have a minute to choose between the sites. Rops up close. Otto heard the footsteps, but still gets dispatched. Rops is so quick on the trigger right now. A man that desires to put this match to bed. Spinks, there you go. I was going to say, you just saw him beforehand, but he was looking up towards window instead. Smooey is taking the point for his teammate. Spins around and Frozen has been sent packing, leaving Rops with 15 HP to maneuver outside of Kitchen, and Spinks drills him with the AWP. We go again. Second overtime. Nothing to distinguish between these two teams. Mousesports had 3 map points. 3 of them. And they couldn't convert one of them. Massive credit to c0ntact. I said, what are you made of? Do you have that grit, that tenacity? Can you dig deep? Well, they absolutely did. Thank you very much for the follows and the subs, guys. Really do appreciate that. Glad you're enjoying your stay. Have another best of 3 after this. Oh, I just need to collect myself here. Alrighty, took a drink, just resetting myself. Plenty of Counter-Strik still to go, and of course the first map goes double OT, but it's been a really fun map to cast, so I'm completely on board with this. What do you guys reckon? Who's taking it then? I honestly think this is a 50-50 right now. Congrats on DreamHack Open. Has it been announced? Ah, cool, it has. Nice. Yeah, that's another reason that I wanted to do these qualifiers additionally on top of everything else that I talked about, is because I'll be doing the actual event. So it's cool to see how the teams got here and, you know, to get more of an understanding of what they bring to the table. Obviously, if it ends up being like Mouse or somebody else, then I kind of already know. But if it's a team like c0ntact or Endpoint, then it's really cool to see their journey towards a potential event. So, been a lot of fun. But we go again. Overtime beckons. Who will answer the call? Mousesports now starting on this. Still, only 6 rounds have come their way on CT side. Are into what, the 37th round now? Pretty insane. Esperanto through the smoke, finding multiple players. There's one. Rops on the side of the triple box will nullify him, neutralize the threat. But for how much longer? Smooya snuck his way into the window, still dispatching of players alongside Spinks. There could be more. This is what I was talking about. Even without the AWP, this guy can stand and trade with anyone on the planet. Post plant. Frozen. Not interested. Wants to save. Will I be casting the next match of the winner of this versus Endpoint? Yes, I will. That'll be happening. I think it was originally scheduled for 7, but instead it's going to be 8. CEST. So it's pushed back by an hour. It should be on HLTV though. Considering this is going double overtime and this could go like all 3 maps, there may not be too much downtime in between games. So we'll see what happens. But yes, I will be casting Endpoint versus whoever wins this game. Terrorists win. Can we say though that c0ntact has beautiful bomb site entries this game? I completely agree. I completely agree with you, Yo Legacy. Yes, they've had some incredible entries. It's great to see like Esperanto just ripping out through Connector. We've seen Spinks out of Palace, Smooya through middle, Snappy through ramp side. Like these guys have got some crazy entries on them. And this is what I mean. Like if they can get some really solid IGLing in play and have a bunch of strats and, you know, notes, shall we say, to delve into if their plan A and plan B aren't working, we'll be looking at a real contender here. A team that's capable of upsetting pretty often. Rops with the first. The camera goes crazy. Apologies for that missed shot, but it looks like it was over on the A side of the map. Good flashbang in from Snappy. Rops fully blind. Couldn't see a thing. Mitigating the AWPer at the back of the site. And Otto goes in again. BMAS with a strange peek out there. Maybe anticipating they'd be flashed. Wasn't the case. Carrigan now with 1. Looking to find and frag more. 3 on 3. Now down to a 2 on 2. And Frozen, not for the first time, in a clutch. And not for the first time, comes out with frags. All down to Otto and 12 HP to his name as he comes around the corner. I thought he had that. Chris J, though, has definitely spotted him. He knows the bomb's on ramp. He's not hearing it go down, and there's not really enough time at this stage to justify a rotation. Now he knows where Otto is. How does he go so aggressive? How is Chris J capable of just pushing out like that? The ball's on the guy, not weighing him down is incredible. I don't know if you heard that, but when he actually ran out, I just like flung my hand out and just knocked a plate off the table. Brilliant. Love to see that. 1 sec, guys. Thankfully, it wasn't full of food. Typically, when you're casting, you need like a plate next to you because you don't get that many breaks in between maps. Fortunately, I'd already finished it for today. That could have been awkward. Here come c0ntact again, though. Finally, Mousesports have broken the curse of the CT side, but for how long? How long can they keep this up? Chris J, 1v1 clutch, and now Otto, the man that he put down. Oh, did he switch too early? Did he do the classic mistake AWPers do? Will they try and switch weapon quickly after shooting in order to allow them a bit of movement speed? And in doing so, he just didn't pull the trigger. How costly could that be? Maybe no cost will be given at all if Smooya gets the upper hand on Frozen, which he does. And he also had Spinks just behind him, so they made sure they had the counter frag there. Regardless of what happened, Chris J up to the plate, headshot straight in, looking for the second. Needs to be wary of Smooya to his left-hand side, and the Englishman puts the AK to use, puts c0ntact Gaming on the map in a lead, going through to our second half of our second overtime. But I bring you back to the stats. Mousesports did pick up a CT round. How much is that worth? mean, I'm assuming that's what happened with Otto. I wonder if maybe he was looking at jungle for a while, and just in that split second where he came off the scope, about to turn towards maybe, like, you know, connector or CT, he gets peeked from jungle, and it's just really unfortunate timing. I'd have to go back and watch that. Gut reaction is that he did the classic AWP mistake. Could be wrong, though. 36 kills to Esperanto. 37 to Rops. Both fragging out hard. Goes to show just how close this game has been. No, the plate didn't break because I recently bought some, like, plastic ones. They're kind of like half plastic, half plate. It's hard to explain what they are. Whatever. No one cares about my friggin' plates. You care about the game. Smooyer and BMaz both get one. I didn't anticipate them both to face off against each other in middle. But it has been an even 1-to-1 trade. No, the plate didn't break for those plate enthusiasts out there. Didn't know that was a thing, but here we are. Mousesports needed Rops to stay alive. The talisman of the attack has been neutralized, but so has Spinks. Frozen also allowing some safe passage over onto A on the side of the T's. The smoke is not ideal. There's actually a gap. The snap he nearly makes the most of. Karrigan tagged out to 54. Smoke put in. Right idea from Frozen. And Smooyer thankful that Frozen relented on his spray. Otherwise, the UK sniper would have been put 6 foot under. They want to get the secondary AWP, but it gets denied. Frozen takes him out of the table. You've been following since COD 4 Pro Mod. Jesus, that is a long-ass time, man. Thank you. That is a long, long time. And it'll feel like decades are passing for Smooyer right now, trying to hold on to this AWP. He's been spotted, he's been sprayed, and he's been fragged from Karrigan. Oh dear. So 22 is now the number that both teams are jockeying for position for. You want to see Esperanto's point of view? Alright, let's have a look at the man then, shall we? Repping the Tommy Shelby in his profile pic. Respect that. Arthur Shelby's the true king, though. I don't care what anyone says. There's not a great deal going on for Esperanto. If he's going to see action, it'll be against Frozen, who's on the chair. And Frozen's delegated role here is to play the interference through connector and try and flank into position once this execute comes in. But that may not be the case anymore. They may have pulled the plug on that idea. Chris J with the bomb in tow alongside Karrigan moving through middle. Keeping their options open. Varied and diverse are Mousesports. 25 seconds. Esperanto still in the same position. And now he will show his hand. Smoke down preemptively to block off the Molotov, which isn't forthcoming. Also allows him safe passage back onto the other side of window. Now the plan is still A. But they have to pivot in for an entry. And they need one quickly. Esperanto still in position to fend off the oncoming attack. And another one. Karrigan pushes straight through. He's a dead man. And BMaz should be soon to follow. And Esperanto with a 4K. Whoever said follow Esperanto apparently has mystical powers. I would like to know the lottery numbers if possible, please. Thank you. "41 kills and 9 assists to Esperanto. Not too shabby. And now another map point to Contact Gaming. Do we go triple OT? Or is this where the grueling Mirage battle comes to a halt? Molly down onto the top boxes, instantly extinguished. Oh yeah, if you're joining thinking this is map 2, nah, this is map 1, guys. This map has been going on for an hour and a half, or at least. And the players still have potentially another 2 maps coming after this, and then another best of 3. So they really are in for a marathon of Counter-Strik. Mental strength and mental fortitude will be tested. Gap in the smoke. Esperanto doesn't make the most of it, though. c0ntact have 2, and this could be the map coming to a close unless c0ntact can turn the tides and use them against c0ntact. He's got 2 and nearly gets punished, but peeks out again. And Esperanto, who is not to be trifled with all the kills under his possession, comes out. A really awkward exchange between ropz and Snappy will go the way of Mousesports. And now 20 seconds to play with. And Esperanto on the CT boxes has had his head punctured from the AK round of ropz. Delivered first class, leaving Smuya in a 1 vs 2 with the AWP. As a kit, has grenades. Has the HP advantage too, funnily enough. But as soon as he takes a shot, he likely will get peeked, and he isn't given the opportunity to take a shot because ropz has silenced him. Triple OT. How the hell did we get here, guys? It feels like forever ago. The first half ended 12-3 to c0ntact. How in the actual shit have we got into triple OT? Can someone explain this to me, please? Because my brain is melting. I'm doing a bit of both, auto-director and manually, if I notice the auto-directed derps, which sometimes it does. It's like, oh, you're about to see a kill. Oh, we'll just switch to a player AFK. Or it does this classic thing where, oh, you're about to see a kill. Let me just go third person. Here you go. Oh, you're getting immersed in this play? Nah. Pretty mental, isn't it? That, like, the auto-director function and a bunch of other things, like the demo player in CS, have not really been fixed or worked on at all since the very start. And the game's been out for, what, 7 years? Jesus. But hey, we all love Counter-Strik, right? It could be worse, guys. You could be watching this game at 10 AM. Otto and Spinks both with kills. And Mousesports on the back foot already. c0ntact will be wishing they'd pulled this off in the round prior. This map could have been done and wrapped up. But instead, we continue to steam forward. c0ntact and Carrigan. One of the more one-sided CT rounds that we have seen in the entire match up until this point. The bomb gets dropped down, and c0ntact 1 on 5. Top of middle has been spotted, has been fragged. Now 25 is the number that both teams are looking to land on. You have to feel like whoever concedes this map at this stage just must be mentally wrecked. Like, if you win this map, you are feeling on top of the world. You lose, man. Now they know how I feel being a Newcastle fan. c0ntact, beautiful entry. And a second. Now, he probably doesn't anticipate a third player to be in shadow. Absolutely not. But the rest of his team are doing work. Over on the other side of the map. Esperanto, rest in peace. Never stood a chance. Thanks, Sylvester. Cheers, dude. Glad you enjoyed it. mean, these are the kind of situations that even if you are Carrigan and you have like a Bible worth of notes and tactics and strats and all that good stuff, even now, you've depleted most of them. You have to think. We've seen some tweaks come in from Carrigan. We saw some really cool moments, but at this stage, let's just go back to the drawing board. See what works. Flashbang out, Esperanto. Aggression, but no one's really in middle apart from Chris J, who's at the top of middle, making sure they don't push. It was a joke. 150-second delay plus yours, like, it's gonna be like a long time of delay, but it was a joke, guys. Okay. Just laugh. It's alright. Mousesports looking good to take this round for V2. Smuya moving in alongside his teammate Carrigan. Hello. That's some pretty tasty, spicy spray transfer. He was at 006 at one point in this game. No longer weighed down by the lack of frags. He's doing just fine. Second half of overtime. Mousesports do lead. Need 2 rounds. 2 rounds to take this home. Listen, mate, I don't make the rules with the overtime stuff, right? I'm just the pleb caster. I'm just sat here. I'm not smart enough to make the rules. I'm just a parrot, you know? All I know is I've got a little voice in my head. That makes me sound crazy. Maybe I am. A voice in my head telling me it's 25. I don't even know what we're playing. This is Valorant, isn't it? Where are the abilities? Mousesports up through middle. Try a flash in for a peek. We haven't actually seen this kind of aggression too many times, so I respect it, but it isn't going to work out because c0ntact are all postured just outside of A. Flashbangs over. Carrigan now looking in. Oh, he's missed a shot. That's a bit of a sitter. Fortunately, Spinks goes down straight afterwards to the hands of Rops. But just as I was giving Carrigan some props there, does miss out. To see how important that will be, because if Carrigan retained his position, he could have stayed on the CT boxes. It would have had that much more impact. c0ntact all clumped up around Tetris and Sandwich. Great flashbang tossed in. Actually, I think that was from the T, so I take that back. Depends on the context and whose position you're looking from. Great from Mousesports' perspective, but now Chris J tagged down to 18 HP. Has to contend with a few oncoming threats. And Smuya, nice movement. Quickly wrapping through onto the B side. Does he get picked off on the cross? Not quite. Chris J is waiting for his teammate, waiting for Frozen to get in position. The two of them can explode out together. The lack of HP will be a bit of an issue for Chris J, especially as his teammate's just been plucked out from Otto. We are all even again. Is quad overtime really about to happen? c0ntact mixing it up, this time through on B. Frozen laid here with Carrigan. Carrigan actually having no grenades left, which could be a bit of an interesting confrontation coming up against Mousesports. If the full push does come in, they'll have no incendiaries or nades to actually toss in there and weaken out the herd. But a good frag from Frozen, accompanied by a flashbang again from c0ntact, is good for quite a few kills. The damage is blast towards contact. Snappy and Otto both down to 11, both eating headshots from the M4A4. And Romps then pushed through the smoke until it's too late. He can't deny the bomb plant, but he does deny the life of Smuya and goes on to Otto afterwards. 2 kills already for Romps, and he could be in for another one. Snappy 1 on 3. A bullet anywhere on his person and he's gone. There's an incendiary for BMAS who's tossed one in. Snappy's dead. Burns to a crisp. He's out of there. And Mousesports have yet another map point. I've lost track of how many map points we've had now for both teams. I feel like it's been pretty even. You want to see the scoreboard? Boom. There it is. Drops 47 kills. Esperanto with 45. There's a bit of a drop-off after that point, but you have Frozen at 35. And then a few more players around the 30 mark. So really the 2 main stars, the 2 main men, Rops and Esperanto, both performing very well indeed. Here's that aggression again up middle, but this time it backfires. The flash from Smuya was exceptional, and Carrigan and BMAS were just passengers as the car plummeted into a wall made of contact bullets. That's a strange analogy. Let's move away from that one. Drops. Wide peeking. Good flashbang. Only the 1 kill following it up. And Contact are looking good to take us into yet another overtime. The never-ending game continues, it would seem. Frozen with 1. Frozen getting blasted by Esperanto. 24 to 24. What the actual hell is happening? The voice is telling me it's 28 now. First to 28 wins. Strap yourselves in, boys. It's going to be a long one. It already has been. We're coming up to nearly 2 hours since this game was scheduled to go live. And we have yet to finish the first map. You want anti-aliasing put on? I don't know if my PC will be able to handle that. Where is it? Enabled. We'll try the 8 times. Now, if my PC explodes, it's your guys' fault, okay? Alright? Glad you agree. What the hell's going on with those gloves? It's a T1000's on the server. Look at that shit! You've literally... Okay, never mind. It's okay, Carrigan. I was gonna say, like, you literally spawned the T1000 into the server.
Counter-Terrorists win.
When does this finish? I mean... As much as I'd love to tell the future there, Chief, I can't, so I don't really have an answer for you on that one. But judging from how the game has gone so far, probably never. I'm going to assume in a year's time we'll still be sat here. It's been great to cast, don't get me wrong. I just worry for the players, man. How do you keep your concentration levels consistently pretty high when you are going into the 49th round in a CS game with very little breaks in between? I don't know. I don't know how you do it. It's like, for me, casting, you have to focus, right? But I can just talk shit. I could just talk utter bollocks. Like, I don't have to be accurate. Their aim has to be on point. Their calls have to be on point. I could just talk nonsense. as I often do. So, feel for the players here and the coaches, guys. And as I said before, there's plenty more CS coming up for them after this. But here we go. Quad overtime. Yes, you heard that correctly. 28 rounds. The magic number that the teams will be vying for. And contact starting on the T side again. As they push into Palace. There will be no flank players around middle. We have seen a few times the likes of Smear pushing up through mid into connector. Frozen typically is that role on Mousesports. Good incendiary timing. Forces multiple players back, and Carrigan saw two of them. That will be information gathered, and have a look at this. Rops has already moved up, taking this chance. Will timing work against him? He gets one, but no more. But the floodgates have now been opened, and Mousesports know roughly what's coming up. Frozen will just double check. Smear with the AK headshot, and contact look to march on. Carrigan putting up a blockade. Blockade is good. Derailing Spinks. Snappy and Esperanto. Oh dear. That flashbang bounces off his teammate's head. Detonates in the B apps. Going to do nothing towards the B defenders, who are now encircling like vultures, waiting for the weakened T's to limp their way in. And the last few movements in the next 15 seconds. Flash across with the flick will not yield anything. Chris J still there. Both their AWPers are perched up on the site, playing up close. The combat AWP's looking good, and it's the M4 that comes out and cleans up the final kill. Why do I play on windowed mode? I don't play on windowed mode, but I stream and cast on windowed mode. Because it allows me to quickly change settings and things like that without it affecting the gameplay. If you're on full screen and you alt-tab, I don't know about you guys, but my PC takes about 15 years and I hear the hamster just gasping for air in the background. So I'd rather not have to deal with that while I'm streaming and casting. This game ends at 10 AM. That would be like just the greatest full circle meme of all time, wouldn't it? Play till bloody 10 AM. 3 AWPs in play from Mousesports. Alright then. Cool. I don't mind it. If you have no sound, the ghost, maybe turn your headset on, Chief. Mousesports with a chance, not just to lead in this first overtime. Just kidding. The fourth overtime. The first half, I was going to say. It could be 2-0 up, which I don't think has happened yet on the CT side. Snappy and Otto, both been smacked down hard. Carrigan on the cross with the AWP, flicks into Otto, jumps up for information. And finds that info a little bit too hard to digest. Now Rops waiting. Can hear the taps, can hear the tags onto Spinks, and we'll finish off what his teammate started. I think it was Frozen that got the assist on that one. Snappy with 1 kill. Needs to go 2 better. Post plant coming up. Allows the CTs to get up close. However, if they line up, he could do this. He knows where the last player is. It's Carrigan. Snappy could pull this one off, you know. 37 HP remaining, and the USP from the veteran IGL Carrigan will not miss. The Great Dane takes the round for Mousesports. And they take a 2-round lead. Just 2 rounds shy now of taking this map. What's the verdict, guys? What do you think of the skeleton knife? Are we saying it's like S tier? Are we saying it's top tier? Are we calling it trash? Because I've seen some pretty divisive opinions on it. I think the animations are kind of cool, but after a while they kind of annoy me. I did have one for a little while. I had a blue steel one. What do you guys reckon? Contact with some aggression. Frozen tagged. Contact flashed numerous times. Now pushing onto the side, but Carrigan's there with the AWP. He really seems to have come alive in these last 10-15 rounds. Now Otto spraying with the Galil. Galil isn't there. Damage has been inflicted, however. Great shots across the board on Mousesports. Smear's waiting in the smoke. Sprayed out from Rops. A clean sweep half from Mousesports. They did this, remember, earlier on. But that was on the T side. Now they have the T side to come up. And they need one of the next 3 rounds. And they win. You want FX turned off, mate. You guys. Let me turn that off. There you go. Thank you, Death Rate. Let's go Sunderland. Who the hell? Hold on a second. This is why I have windowed mode, so I can scroll up and see who that is. Sam Vick. Are you alright, mate? Knock that shit off. Are you a Macam? Can you ask Rops to add me on Steam? Sure, I'll get right round to that one, dude. Alright, here we go, Contact. Do you have a flawless CT round planned, or are we going 1-0 to Mousesports? Will the never-ending game actually end? Will it happen? 2 smokes, aggression from Contact, going underground. Submerging, looking to strike from below. But Snappy's fallen, and that's the B site that will go with him. Those 2 players now need to spring into action, and Otto will drill into Rops. Unfortunately for Contact, though, he was not the bomb carrier. It doesn't bypass the plant from coming into play, and a good Molotov keeps Otto at arm's reach. Typically, that would be bad with an AWP, but he doesn't have any angles to aggress through. And Esperanto with the M4 just behind him, looking to try and carve back in and cultivate the clutch. But they're going to have to move into this one uphill. This is a steep challenge ahead of them. And Otto, the last man standing, but not for much longer. And the marathon has come to an end. And it sees Mousesports past the finish line first. The best of 3 might not be done, but Mirage is. And Mousesports will lead, moving into their choice of map, 1-0 to the good. And 1 step away from booking their spot against Endpoint later today. I do worry what kind of an impact that will have on Contact, losing their map and in such fashion. A grueling, fatiguing game of Counter-Strike. And they are on the wrong side of the result. So spare a thought for them, guys. I'm going to get myself a drink. I recommend you guys do the same. I'd imagine the players probably want a little bit of a break after that. They'll be knackered. So, by all means, take 10-15 minutes, come back. We'll have map number 2 for you, all right? Thank you very much for the follows, the subs, and the kind words in chat. Appreciate you all for being here, and I'll see you in a few moments for another map of CS. All right, ladies and gents, hopefully that music put you in the mood for some more Counter-Strike. That's why you are here. And after a marathon first map on Mirage, we now take the stage to Nuke. This is Mousesports' choice of map after c0ntact brutally lost their choice. Again, I'm not sure what kind of impact that will have mentally on the players. But they did take a bit of an extended break in between maps. Understandably, they needed to get themselves rested up. Get their heads back into the match. And here we go. Mousesports will be starting on their T side with c0ntact occupying CT. Be curious to see if they get any utility here or any kits. Or if it will just be full Kevlar for the CTs. They do get some kits in the form of Spinks and 2 smokes, a flash, and a nade. Here we go, Carrigan nading Squeaky, tossing out a smoke. Esperanto turns his back, anticipating the flashbang, but still goes down through the smoke of Chris J. And just like that, the site open for business. And they will close the transaction with a bomb plant. Emas tagged, Chris J tagged, and Otto fragging out onto Rops, putting more pressure on Chris J. This has been a beautiful retake so far, and it may just continue in the same form of vein as Carrigan gets only one. And c0ntact successful on their retake endeavors. They steamroll the site, take no prisoners, massacre everybody, and get their hands on some well-earned, well-deserved weapons. What do Mousesports do next? Do they buy? They do indeed. Mac 10, Galil. Could be more from where that came from. Another Galil is picked up. Spink spraying up through the smoke, but no one's home. A bit more passive from Mousesports. They only have a flashbang remaining. They're going to try and hit A again. Good flash onto Spinks, but his eyes have cleared quick enough to get 2. He got a 4K from this very position yesterday. He does like the back of the site, but Rops loves himself a deagle. M4 picked up, has no idea that Smuya's waiting in the wings of Hut, who is about to pounce. A shot did connect onto Smuya, but it was negligible at best. Only 22 HP lost for the frag. And Mousesports with their force buy. No bomb plant, no round in sight. They do decide to buy again, but it's more of a half buy this time. They know that c0ntact's economy is looking a little bit grim after losing 4 players in that previous round, so keeping their toes dipped in the water but not fully submerged just yet. They may take a plunge if they can get a kill or 2. Oh, the good old XM. Oh, I say the good old XM, but he's just had his head plastered by the Tech 9. I don't quite understand how Chris J is still alive after taking multiple shots that range from a shotgun, but hey, look. These things happen in CS. So do 1Deegs. And Frozen is happy to distribute 1 across to c0ntact. He's looking for a fallen weapon, but nothing is forthcoming. Now Chris J finds himself the scout, and of course he prefers the scout. It's Chris J we're talking about here. Flashbang's a bit awkward. Silence on the battlefield. Becomes somewhat deafening at this point. You can hear the wind blowing in the background. Winds have changed, perhaps, if Mousesports can get their hands on another kill and convert into a round itself. It doesn't look likely. Opening both doors, and nobody on B site to actually repel this. They can hear players jumping down in the vents. And Frozen with the deagle gets 1. Not far off the second one either. minimum damage has been inflicted towards Frozen, so he can still stand tall. But this grenade could finish him off. It bounces off all the walls, but barely touches him. And in amongst all of this, chrisJ can just perch in position with his scout. But now that his teammate is gone, it puts so much more pressure on his shoulders. He has the right idea. The spray with the Tech 9, but the MP9 just a step ahead in terms of spitting out bullets, spitting out pain. And the winds die down. Mousesports, though, with a bomb plant and some more kills, keeping that economy low. And now they can muster up the strength for some rifles behind it. chrisJ could even get an AWP if he wants to, but would have been glass cannon. And full AKs will be the order. I believe Carrigan did just see the head behind the red container. If he didn't see it, he definitely heard the bullets. But Otto still spraying down through the smoke, gets the headshot onto Carrigan. And that puts c0ntact into a phenomenal position right now. It's a very similar feel to the start of Mirage. You'd have to cast your mind back considerable amount of time now, as so much CS has come and gone since that point. But c0ntact took a 7-0 lead on Mirage, albeit on the T side and not the CT side. And although some of these rounds have been pretty close, this one has the ability to be a shutout. This could be c0ntact pulling off quite the CT start to their nuke. And keeping in mind this is Mousesports' choice, I was worried that they'd just crumble. I thought mentally they might be gone after that Mirage, but they're proving me wrong, which I'm very happy to see. Big entry on the side of Rops. Thing is, though, it may have minimum impact overall. His teammate and partner, Emas, has been tagged down to 20 seconds left on the timer. Mousesports being pressured and pushed down into the open while vulnerable, while weak. And they get culled. The euthanasia administered. Mousesports now probably just half buying. There's quite a few other casters as well out there casting right now. You have LaFortune, who was in chat earlier. He's also been casting, so definitely show him some love. Go drop him a follow on his Twitch channel. That would be huge. I'm sure he'd appreciate that. I think he's casting tomorrow as well, if memory serves me correctly. There's a bunch of people that are casting. I think Scriv was helping him out earlier. I tuned in for a little while before starting this best of 3. Esperanto, he has been so good today. Even though they lost Mirage, he was by far the standout player. It was really hit between him and Rops. Esperanto was on form, as was Rops. That Molotov, perfectly placed. Smuya can't flick across to the second. But denying the bomb, great news. The economy not able to really take a stranglehold the way that Mousesports would have liked. chrisJ down to 3,500. With a bomb plant, he could have got an AK. So denying that bomb, very important. Frozen with just a smoke. Not the ideal kind of buy, considering it's 5-0. Normally, the one saving grace, if you've had a bit of a stinker on the start of your T-half, is you'll have that max round loss bonus and be able to churn out the buys over and over again. The fact they're into a Tech 9 is pretty considerable, but Smuya overextending. Overstaying is welcome in ramp. Does get punished accordingly. That could be the window that sees Mousesports bounce back into nuke. But the window, perhaps bulletproof. Otto shoots down Carrigan. And a slight gap in the smoke will yield another bit of success on the side of the CTs. The thing is, even if Mousesports do get obliterated like 7-8-0, after what I just saw on Mirage, I just don't believe in anything at this point. Like, I just can't trust that will end up becoming a win. I think Mouse have proven that they're a team that can weather the storm and be alright, even when they're up against it. Now, does Chris J check the tight right angle here? Because if he doesn't, Esperanto has him dead to rights. He does check it. 35 seconds. Could be another one. Is another one. Otto wide swings. Chris J obliges and knocks him off his mortal coil for a free plant down on B. The two CTs nowhere to be seen. The plant should be converted. Spinks, though, in hot pursuit over B-Mass, who peeks out and does a bit of damage alongside the player upon A, which is Frozen. Is this damage enough to quell the push? I feel like it might be. I think when you consider how many kills Mousesports got in those early rounds, the fact that Contact Gaming's economy never really boomed, you have an AK and an AWP, it's not worth going in 17 and 24 HP collectively. You've got 41 HP between the two of them. They just decide to save instead. Yeah, the first map was 28-24 to Mousesports. If you did miss that, it was a real marathon. A real nail biter. Nice flick across from Otto. Volley gets tossed out as well. Will stop the initial charge from the T's to try and overwhelm the AWPer. They have Esperanto down in Garage additionally, and Snappy using that same smoke, same position, gets the same result. Those are the kind of angles that Mousesports will need to be wary and cognizant of going forward. We play as creatures of habit. You can use that against them. Use that behavioral element of Counter-Strik. It is a dirty angle, to be fair, but it's one you've got to anticipate now. Nice shot, Carrigan. Has Esperanto made enough noise? He's taken a bit damage. Did they still expect him to be in that position? He's wasting valuable time. They need Chris J to have impact. The other two teammates are locked down and pinned outside. They also have Smuya, who's moving into position as well. He's downstairs on the stairway on control room. This is looking a little bit pensive at the moment for the T's. I'm not sure how they get into this. 20 seconds to go. They know one of these players is on A, but Spink spins around. Gets a double. HE touches down just beforehand, leaving Carrigan alone, and he doesn't have the bomb, but can at least pick it up. Goes for the full plant. Spinks will be able to vest him directly afterwards. The bomb plant at least ticks their economy, but it's a one and done on Mousesports. They're unable to connect for a second and get a streak in play. They have enough for a buy, of course. But they need to make it work. BMAS 0-7. Been a pretty awkward game for him. Why am I hosting the game? Why wouldn't I be? I was asked and I said yes. Esperanto with the spray trades out against Frozen. I would say, though, the bottom fragger being traded for one of the best players on the server is a worthwhile trade if you're Mousesports. Frozen, though, losing 87 HP will be a little bit more sting and costly. And to make matters worse, Chris J trying to play the mind games through the smoke has been dispatched with haste, and the bomb drops alongside him. What just happened there? Did Frozen just fall to his death? Hold on a second. Oh, Frozen, no. Frozen. What have you done? I think he was on 13 HP, and I feel like he may have fell off the silo and just crated. That is incredibly awkward. Niall Quinn, greater than Alan mate, get out. Alan Shearer, top Premier League goal scorer of all time with multiple injuries and didn't even play every season in his prime in the Premier League. With some, I'm a Newcastle fan. I'm a lifelong Newcastle fan, right? Even when they're in League 2 and shit when I was younger. He played with some bang average players in the Newcastle squad and got the top goal scoring record. Niall Quinn, like 6'8" of garbage. Get out. Definite Mackham. Definite Mackham. What have I just read? That's actually put me off. The Mousesports continue to press forward. Molotov put down. Otto spins across for a second. Could be in for more. The T's haven't fully overwhelmed and encircled him just yet. Rops is watching the back line. The timing was unfortunate for Rops. It cost Carrigan dearly. But now Smuya, 1-on-2, coming up through heaven with the AWP. There was nothing particularly intricate about that play. It was aggression. It was a rush. It was in the face of contact, and it worked. Now, whether Smuya can pull off a ridiculous 1v2 is yet to be seen. Dropping down. Takes a little bit of damage. Speculative wallbang. Tapping the bomb. Trying to draw the T's out into the open. There's the first. This is now doable. Keep in mind he has a kit. He has smokes and he has flashes. Tickles it again. Drawing Rops into the open. Who goes for the peak? And Smuya has to stick on the bomb. Has there enough time though to get this defuse? It's going to be very close. He gets it done. Smuya with the 1v2. Against all the odds, the UK star comes out shining bright. And Mousesports will be gutted. A crippling blow when it looked like they could get back into this, and instead they trail 8-1. All the credit in the world to c0ntact. After losing in such a brutal fashion on Mirage, they have came back and they have stamped their foot down. Will history repeat itself? However, Frozen, aggression this time. Keep in mind that last round additionally was basically an eco half-bike. It was effectively, I think, a Mach 10 and Tech 9s and P250s. So now the main course is here. They switch weapons. Esperanto now with the AWP. From a measly 11 HP. Good Molotovs tossed in on both sides. Quelling any pushes. Frozen, important kill. Can now turn his attention towards Decon. They've heard no steps down through Vent, but there is a player pushing down there in the form of Spinks. He's been silent. He's been quiet. He's been slow. That's not a great smoke. That actually does nothing to Frozen. If anything, that helps him. I'm not quite sure what happened there. But it's not the right time to be throwing a whiffed smoke, that's for sure. And now that Spinks has gone down, it puts more pressure on the CTs and they have to dip out. They've got to get out of there. Too bad he sucks in FIFA, it's true. It's because FIFA is just a mess, man. It's like, oh, you've got to be fast and good at dribbling. It's just garbage. You know how garbage FIFA is? Joe Linton is a better player in FIFA than Shearer is. That's how you know how utterly dogshit FIFA is as a game, by the way. Joe Linton. The worst 40 million Newcastle ever spent in their history is a better player on FIFA than Shearer. I almost want to throw up in my mouth even saying that out loud. Here we go. Mousesports do finally convert their second round, and now they have a chance to break down the economy of the CTs. There's nothing finesse about this. They bust out the sledgehammer. It's blunt force trauma through on A as they smash down the walls. Otto makes sure that Rops doesn't live any longer in round 11, but it just feels like a drop in the ocean. c0ntact will have to back away. Does look like they can save both AWPs and an M4, so they can force together a buy in the next one, assuming they do save all three of these guns. Well, Esperanto will not survive at least. However, both AWPs are safe, stationed together. Quite together. They're on top of one another. Otto watching the lower side and Smear watching the top. Mousesports with a third. Hey, if you believe that jinxes are a thing, I've got a bridge to sell you. Are you interested? They still force even with losing that third player, and I can understand why. You save two AWPs, you may as well have a go at this with a vast lead as they currently have. But the problem is, if they do concede, this is a beautiful way back into the game for Mousesports, who have been pretty solid when it comes to getting up close and personal. Even though the scoreline would suggest it's been pretty one-sided, there have been a couple of rounds that Mousesports should have had. Go back to that Smear 1v2. Esperanto, patiently waiting, gets rewarded with 2 deeks. So often we find out that the word should has no real bearing or meaning in Counter-Strik. All the signs pointed towards Mousesports getting a comfortable 4-0, sorry, 4-8, I should say, scoreline. They wish it was 4-0. And instead, they're getting absolutely smashed. And to make matters worse, they will convert to 2 AK-47s. Mousesports' economy is good enough to get another buy, but that is a golden opportunity that has now just been squandered. Mate, okay, look. Newcastle won 7-0. Highest league cup result ever or whatever. It was against Morecambe. Can we not pretend like it's some really sick result? It's against Morecambe. People are like, Joe Linton scored against Morecambe. If he didn't have goals against Morecambe, just quick sell him. Just get him out the club for £5 in the Snickers bar. You know what I mean? Just get him out right now. Esperanto again in garage. This guy's got the overalls on. He's just got just enough grease, just enough oil on the overalls. Fixing up a couple of cars. I mean, this is just his home. He fits right in. And no one from Mousesports can deal with him. He's just gone in for another one. 2 kills, 12 HP to his name. Untenable. Oh, frozen. That flick is something special. Snappy, are you okay, Chief? Did they expect a flashbang? I don't quite know what just happened, but whatever. 2v3. Frozen has been sacrificed to the CS gods, but will it yield a 4th round? That flick was so juicy. Smoke down from Esperanto, and a flash behind it. Slight gap in that smoke, but does nothing at all towards his endeavors, and now Rops picks up the slack. 2 bullets left in the magazine. He'll need to use both of them if he takes down Otto. Fortunately, though, any bullet on Otto will finish him off, and it's a headshot for good measure. And the man that performed so very well on Mirage is off to a decent start again. 11 kills, the top on his team. There are 3 players better than him, though, on the server, and those readers: Otto on 14, Esperanto 13, and Spinks on 12. It's that same smoke that we've seen Snappy use a few times, but this time instead, Spinks is using a different angle. Otto spraying out through the smoke. We've seen him do that a few times already. Last time it was Carrigan, this time BMAS. Easy pickings, Carrigan. Smashes down Otto. Really a fair fight. Normally it would be two AWPs against each other. This time, not the case. Chris J tagged from that man Spink. Snappy making moves through hut, but gets found by Carrigan, who gets both the kills in the round so far. And could be off to a blinder. Mousesports still have Frozen. Watching Secret. Esperanto, try as he may, just runs into the blockade of an AK-47. Spinks a tasty headshot, looking for another one, and finds it onto Frozen. And now a 2-on-2 with both the T players. Low HP, Spinks goes in for another. He's on a 3k already. And now Carrigan has to add a 4k to 1v2, and Smuya sprays him out. The deagle work from Spinks, insane. And Mousesports slip, slide, and facepalm again. This has happened 3 times already that I can think of. Do I play FIFA? I used to play it. I haven't played it in like a year or something because EA, mate, they do some questionable things. I hate that in FIFA you have to basically just spend a ton of money each game and it doesn't roll over to the next one. That really puts me off. See, Michael knows. Michael knows. Here we go. Will Mousesports land 5? A gap in the smoke. Esperanto this time a different angle. The same idea. Nade down at the Secret could do some real chunky damage, and indeed it does. BMAS gets his head removed. Decapitated outside. Chris J can do little but watch on as his teammates fall all around him. And he's put into a 1v5. He's got the first. But Spink, Snappy, Otto, and Smuya to face off against. That's a dirty angle as well from Spinks. 11-4. Unbelievable. Best 3 strikers, Henry, Shearer, then Aguero. Henry was an insane player, but he was... I think... He played a lot of his time at Arsenal at the left wing, though, didn't he? Yield is a cool word, but don't you think you overuse it a bit? Maybe. But you know, when you've just casted quadruple overtime, you've been solo casting the last 3 days, there's going to be certain words you notice that I use. You know, it's a mad thing, but there's only a certain amount of words in the dictionary, Chief. It's going to happen. I'm sure you'll get over it one day, though. And Spinks, though, like, honestly, nutty player. Saw him yesterday. Was it Movistar they played against on Nuke? I can't quite remember. Like, a lot of the games have kind of meshed into one for me now. But he was landing some crazy shit at the back of Silo. I remember one round in particular, he got a 4K from the back of Silo. And was basically just flicking left and right, and was just landing every single shot. It was honestly crazy. Can you play CS:GO on a laptop? I mean, you could. It would probably handle like trash depending on what laptop you had though. If you have like a laptop with all the beastie stuff in it, like a 2080 or something, it should run fine. But if you have like an old laptop, it's going to run like ass. So I don't know, it depends. T, thank you for the Twitch Prime, man. The problem with FIFA is that EA have some really crappy practices that leave a sour taste in my mouth. Honestly. But a good football game is god tier. If you like football, I think even people that don't necessarily like football can still get into football games. The issue is that if you take FIFA off the table, the other alternative is basically PES. You have PES and FIFA, like the two main ones. And there's a massive gulf between PES and FIFA. Like, FIFA is just way more polished. It has a lot more of the rights. It has basically a lot more going for it. I haven't actually played a PES in years, but I've heard that the gameplay is gradually improving. So maybe that's something that in the future FIFA will fall off, because I feel like not enough changes from each FIFA. If you're going to have a FIFA every year, there should be notable improvements. They basically have ignored stuff like pro clubs. They basically ignored the career mode for a while now. And just focus on the Ultimate Team because that's where the money is. That's where they make their crazy money. That's where they, you know, make millions and millions probably every week or month. Like, it's insane. When you look at the top FIFA players, they put in an absurd amount of money. Absurd. Just to stay relevant. Because you need, like, the Hullits. You need the top players. Otherwise, your team is going to struggle against, like, the other top pros. And a lot of the people that are, like, average to probably, like, elite level, which is one of the ranks in the Ultimate Team, like, weekly rewards or whatever. The Ultimate Team weekend thing. To really compete in those, unless you are just an incredibly gifted player, you need the best players. Like, you do. If you come against a team with, like, full icon teams and you're on plebby bronze and silvers, you're going to get your cheeks clapped. Do I think Flamesy is better than Spinks? That's really difficult to answer. It's a really good question, actually. I haven't seen enough of both of them to really come up with an answer yet, dude. I think they're quite different players, and so it's hard to compare the two of them. They're both excellent players, I'll say that much. But I haven't seen enough from Spinks and Flamesy, like, consistency-wise, to say who I think is the better player. They both have very high highs, but I think they both drop off at times as well, and so it's kind of hard to say, but... close. Certainly close in terms of ability levels. Alright, here we go. Chris J watching outside. No one is there because Contact Gaming are all lumped together. And they want to make sure they do not make the same mistake that happened on Mirage. They let a vast lead slip through their fingers. Flashes out, smoke put into play, vent dive. 2 players down there already. With their eyes glaring wide open for that B site, and they should successfully get the bomb down. Esperanto making sure that there'll be no flanks in play down the vents. Now Mousesports trudging through the... I'm sorry, it's actually a fake. It's all a ruse. They came back up again towards the A site, faking like it's B. And now that Frozen can see Smuya up here and lands the shot on him, do they realize that's the case? I think they do. A dirty little smoke to allow Chris a bit of safe passage. This is almost a one-way. You can't really see him from the likes of Hut until he gets to this point now. There's a player below him. It's Snappy. He drops down. He sees them both, but it's going to be Rops that comes in for another couple before Frozen's left standing, but not for much longer. Contact Gaming, second pistol. Yeah, Football Manager is also a great game, but obviously, like, I'm talking about playing the football yourself. Controlling the players, you know. Football Manager is excellent, actually. It's really good. It's a very different game, you know. I'm from Newcastle as well, yeah. 3 MAC-10s, 2 assault rifles. What do you think about Arsenal? Some of the most entitled fans in the world. And that's just triggered a lot of people. I don't even care. BMAS and Frozen both chip in with kills, and now Carrigan perched at the back of the site, teeing off with Deagle headshots. Chris J also joining him. They jump down the vents, but that leaves Snappy and Esperanto isolated from one another, and Carrigan with another Deag. Now it's Snappy. A 1-on-4 with a MAC-10. May get the upper hand onto Carrigan, who will peek him first. But it's about this second player. Gets him down as well. Still retaining 58 HP, but now Rops from the back. Spraying out through the angle. And Mousesports bounce back. And that was such an important round. They force sport. If c0ntact win that, Mousesports back into a save. And c0ntact could have had a 14-4. Instead, 12-5 the scoreline. And even with a bomb plant, c0ntact Gaming don't have much money to work with. But they will force. They know that Mousesports are there for the taking. Or at the very least, they'll go for a raid boss. We'll see. Do they fully invest behind it? They do. Exquisite shot from Esperanto. Again, that's why you want him on the AK in these situations. But he overextends. No chance at an avenging kill. Smuya wants to pick up the AK and keep that assault rifle alive as long as possible. He fakes as if he's running back up towards outside, but Chris J's having none of it. Not a player you can easily mind game. His in-game IQ too high for Smuya on this time of asking. Now Mousesports retain their player advantage. Otto, Snappy, and Spinks just with pistols. Where are they looking to pressure into? Spinks actually dropping down nearly with the 1 Deag. But Carrigan, the connoisseur of the Deagle in the previous round, makes sure he's not on the receiving end of it this time. And Snappy again in another 1vx scenario. Does have control of the bomb, but it's not a post plant. He's been spotted and he's been put down. Thank you very much for the sub, Super Mau Mau. Appreciate that. Mate, all you need to do is search like Arsenal Fan TV for how utterly mental some of those fans are. That's all you need to do, man. Honestly, every time Arsenal used to lose, I would just open up YouTube, I would search, and I would just watch the interviews, and I would just piss myself laughing for like 2 hours. It would cheer me up. No matter how crap my day was, I'd go watch Arsenal Fan TV after a loss. Especially when Wenger was in charge. Oh, it was glorious. Absolutely glorious. As this round is looking like for Mousesports. It was an eco, which is why I wasn't really paying too much attention, because let's be honest, Glocks against M4s and assault rifles, it's normally going to equal a massacre. What do I think about De Bruyne? Great player. I think he'll go down in history as one, if not the best midfielder the Premier League has seen. He's definitely top 3, in my opinion. Unbelievable player. Raid boss is like the term when a team basically only has 1 or 2 people buying, and it's an AK with Kevlar. You know, like they're effectively all trying to propel one player to win the round for them. It's like a power play, you know. Esperanto, not for the first time, getting success outside going into main, but now he's been swept aside. Rops nearly gets 2. Enough damage to Spinks to put him into the zone of a 1-tap on any weapon, on any part of his body, but Snappy bodyguarding, blocking those bullets for Spinks. In doing so, allows him the luxury of a bomb plant. BMast is close enough to make a go of this, but he might need to wait for his teammate, or perhaps not. Snappy, again, how does he always seem to be in these 1vx situations? I'm not so sure. Maybe just luck or unlucky, depending on which way you look at it. But he gets the first one and now spins around. Good flashbang tossed in. He changes his angle of aggression. And BMast peeks in, but Snappy will convert. With a 3k on top of it, he dishes the fatal blow. Mousesports have to buy again. 13-7 deficit of 6 rounds to Mousesports. I think the PC at the time of buying it was like £2,500. Because it wasn't long after the 2080 Ti came out. And up until this, I was always playing on really crappy PCs and streaming on like 50 FPS. So I wanted to get a good one, you know? Whoa. Camera, please. Switch in time, would ya? We've lost a lot of kills on the feed, but it looks like it will come down to a 2-on-2. Spinks and Snappy left. No surprise in one of those two being alive still. And now Frozen and Rops. From very different angles. Trying to neutralize the post plant. First kill goes the way of Rops, leaving it on Snappy. He just clutched a few moments prior in a 1v2. Can he go one better? No. The resounding answer comes in. Aubameyang. I've got him in my fantasy league team. He's a really good player. ADB overrated, mate. You must be Man United fan, Tanner. You're a United fan or a Liverpool fan? 100%. Oh, this is aggressive from Contact. They've only got pistols and one AK-47. It's on Esperanto again, but it's Smuya that breaks the deadlock for the T's. Esperanto gets smashed down to 3 HP. Curious if you'll trade off to... there we go. I was going to say, trade off the AK to Smuya, who has the Kevlar and 100 HP. He could do with one of those Tech 9s, boys. There we go. Only had the Glock. And Smuya has used that AK. A devastatingly strong use. Chris J taking this chance in rotating around the back of the T's. Arrogant. Changing the angle. Dropping Esperanto in the process. Spotting 2 more. This is where Chris J can just tighten the noose. Constrict Contact out of this round. Put them on the back foot one more time. The timing, though, will favor... guess who? In the 1v2. I don't even think it's that he's baiting, by the way. I just think it's just super unlucky that he's always last alive. I feel like it's like the 6th time already on this map. Snappy post plant. He got his 1v2 on the B side earlier on. Here's Chris J jumping down into the vents. Will go looking. Trying to flank all the way around the side into double doors. Smoke down on the double doors. That's so brutal for Snappy. He now has to change it up. And in the meanwhile, he can hear the bomb is being defused in the background. There's not much he can do about this, or is there? He gets the first, but the bomb gets defused underneath him. A valiant attempt by Snappy. That smoke completely wrecked him. Both teams can buy again without too many issues. Who's getting relegated? I think Fulham, West Brom, and I have a feeling West Ham might get relegated as well, you know. If not, then maybe... I think Brighton might slip in there, which is funny considering Brighton just wrecked Newcastle, but, you know. Now, after this one, I'm casting Endpoint versus the winner of this match. I won't be doing the Saw one. I'm not sure who is doing the Saw one. It might be La Fortune. I'm not sure who it is. Outcome contact. Not for the first time. Outside control has been pretty easily attainable on the T side. Done this quite a few times already, with varying degrees of success. Posting up in garage, watching main, seeing if any of the CTs peak. The hell is Frozen doing here? Is he just jumping up and down stairs? Yeah, he's got a smoke out. Of course, as I switch across, Chris J neutralizing both garage players. And now Snappy walk past the corpse of his teammates with a pretty solid flick into the head of Chris J. Two players at the back of the site, though, behind the silos. Carrigan joined by BMAS. Bait and switch. If one of them goes down, the whole purpose of this is to have the other one surprise them. Carrigan with two. BMAS can stay in positions. Doesn't have to peek, but does peek and takes down Snappy. And another reason he peeked is because if you check the time up, it was exceedingly low. c0ntact had to make moves. Do I think it's going to win the league? I have a feeling Liverpool might not win it again. I wonder what the hunger is like on Liverpool now that they finally won. I could see maybe Man City winning, you know? And Liverpool coming second. The hype train gets you absolutely nothing other than, I think, like a couple of emotes. It's why it's also called the scam train. I do appreciate that we've hit level 3. That's great, guys. But, you don't get anything. Oh, sorry, level 2. The one AK. This time it's in the hands of Smuya, not Esperanto. And having a look outside, Esperanto just behind the red container. Everybody else clumped together in lobby. We haven't really seen too many aggressive plays outside of Hut or Squeaky from Mousesports. This is something that was happening a lot from XMS and Heretics yesterday. If some of you guys caught that. Or was that the first day? I can't remember. But XMS kept peeking constantly through on Hut. Real pain in the backside. Haven't seen that from Mouse. Just shy of 45 seconds coming up, and the kill is starting to spill into play. It's Carrigan with 2. Snappy tapping through the smoke. Does at least get one back, and Esperanto doesn't need to be re-peaked. You have the player advantage. Chris J on 3 HP can focus his attention towards Hut. Now the bomb's been dropped. Vital information with that bomb drop. BMAS and Frozen will clean up the rest. So that vast lead now been dwindled away to 2. Some of you were memeing about overtime in chat. Well, looking at the score and how this game is coming down, it would not be out of the realms of possibility again. Scriv's doing it. Okay, cool. If you want to catch that, then Scriv will be casting the Saw match. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, guys. I'm trying to be kind. Chris J, anything but. And it's Snappy that's first to die, so there you go. All of you little rats in chat calling him a beta, he's the first to go in. He died for his troops, he led by example. Give the man his credit. Carrigan, M4 in hand. Gets one, traded out. BMAS had a chance at 2, did significant damage to Smuya. c0ntact find themselves a player behind. Right idea from Frozen, pardon me, but not quite on point. Good kill from Rops, and now Smear. 1v3, back to the wall. He's already landed some huge plays over the duration of Mirage, but Frozen on the drive-by rips his head clean off. A team ace. Everybody on Mousesports chipping in with a kill. Everyone doing their job. c0ntact with a post-plant will be able to buy again, but it's more the nature and how these rounds are coming down and the magnitude of the change momentum-wise. A tactical timeout has been deployed to try and figure out where they go next on their T-half. Thanks, Jezix, is it? G6? I can't speak. You'd think that casting you'd need to speak, but not always. How would I feel if Messi joined City? I'd love to see Lionel Messi in the Premier League. We all got a little bit debated, didn't we, off the whole Barcelona thing? Like, I'm probably leaving Barcelona, and then there was a bunch of, like, lawyer shit and law stuff came into play and contracts and blah, 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 blah. He's like, actually, I'll stay at Barcelona. Have I casted big events? I have casted at majors before, dude. It's been a while, but I have. And thank you for the kind words. I do appreciate that. You're very kind. But yeah, it just got announced. The qualifiers that we're doing right now are for the DreamHack Open Fall, which is next month, and I'll be casting that. That just got announced before. So, should be good fun. Now, c0ntact haven't been too aggressive, with the exception of a couple of fast A hits, which are pretty standard on Nuke. We've seen the likes of Esperanto getting outside control pretty early, but they haven't really pressed ramp that much. And I was curious after the tactical timeout if we would see some kind of ramp play come into effect. It hasn't to start off with, but they are now moving in. They could go for a wraparound downstairs through ramp and secret simultaneously and try and end on B. But it also gives the options to jump into hell, go up through heaven to A, if you maybe get a pick outside on main. But instead, it will be ramp. It's a bit later, but it's still coming through, and Rops doesn't get a single kill. Chris J goes for the peek, drops the bomb. Information attained. They do have players down here on the site. Frozen is waiting in the wings. He will know that he may be pressured momentarily. Still lands the headshot. 17 HP left alive. All he has to do is just survive. Stay alive as long as possible. But down he goes, and BMAS from Decon strikes in for another one. Esperanto and Spinks. Last two lifelines, chances and hopes for the T's. And BMAS darting across to the right-hand side to mix up his angles. So well played. They knew he was in decon. They probably assumed he was still tight on the left-hand side, and that's why they set up that second player to watch in there. But the fact that he jumped to the right side completely screwed them. And you know, from c0ntact's perspective, they had to go in for a desperation play. Time was too low. They were in a 2v3. Everything was stacked against them. Very well played from Mousesports. You see the impact as well of Frozen. Getting that one kill downstairs and throwing a smoke bought up enough time for BMAS and the rest of the troops to arrive and deliver those fatal blows. So 13-13. Another vast lead disintegrates for c0ntact. And in the back of their mind, they'll be hearing that voice saying, not again. How do I think Sheffield United will do? They did incredible last season. I don't think they'll be able to repeat that kind of performance again. I could see them like ending 14th, 13th, somewhere around there. Mollies starting to disperse, and now the push in effect. Deagle straight through on Hut, but the M4 is up to the task to swat away the oncoming pests of c0ntact. Not a single kill has came down for Contact Gaming in this round. And Snappy, through the smoke, will try and starve out a few more kills. Those two take my headshots. Hello, hold on a second. Snappy's still in with a chance. A 1v5 could be on the cards. Snappy attempting to conjure some magic and make the entirety of Mousesports disappear with this Tech 9. Nearly gets AWP down from Chris J. This play came out of nowhere. They got aggressive. They tried to push the smoke, and they may be about to get punished for that over-aggression. Chris J jumps through the fire and the flames. And now Snappy decides, look, the Tech 9's got me 3 so far. Why don't I just add a couple more to the mix? Solid try, Snappy. Excellent attempt. But it falls short. Mousesports take the lead. This might actually be the first time they've led in this entire map. I feel like they've been trailing this entire time up until this point. Did I cast ENT vs Liquid? Yes, I did, in the quarterfinals of Katowice. It was an amazing game. I feel very lucky to have got a chance to cast that game. It was incredible. Big entry from Smuya. And additionally, they snuck a player down the vents. Pretty sure the CTs realized this. What do they do with that information, though? What can they feasibly do with that information? And additionally, what will Snappy do with this position? He's not really been too aggressive so far. Oh, Smuya really turning it up a notch. 2 kills through a smoke with the first entry of the round. Exquisite 3k. Now Rops perched in position with his AWP. Did miss out on that second frag. It allows the bomb plant to come in. And puts all the pressure on the shoulder of Mousesports now. And that pressure will be burdened by Carrigan alongside Rops. And Carrigan makes a move in. My photo connects this AWP shot. That may be the call for the save, but Rops is already committed too far. In terms of the money, Rops is low. Everybody else is good to buy. So it would make even more sense for Rops to save at this stage in the game. And save he shall. He pulls the plug. 14-14. This game continues to be incredibly close. Well, I've only casted at 2 majors, and one of them was just 1 match. It was the London Face It Major, which I was really grateful to be invited to. I casted the quarterfinal matchup between Hellraisers and I believe it was Liquid. So I'd have to say Katowice because I did the whole thing. I got to cast alongside Moses for the whole thing, which was incredible. Which means even more now, seeing as he's obviously gone across to Liquid. So, yeah. It was a really cool experience. Last round of the half. Pardon me, not the last round of the half. The penultimate round, potentially, of the entire match. And Esperanto, 3 kills straight through onto A. Bulldozing everybody in his wake. And Contact Gaming now, assuming they do convert this, which I don't see how they don't, because Mousesports, pretty sure they're not interested. They've got to save, right?